How are you?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. So we can probably just go ahead and do some pre-show stuff if you want. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Because we're both in the room. So
Let me
um
just grab my beer real quick.
okay, yeah, that works.
Do I sound bad? Am I really echoey or muffled?
Not too bad. I mean, not any worse than what it would be, normally. I mean, we get a lot of guests that are like that too. Like a lot of times if they're in like an echoey room, you'll get it.
Yeah,
But a lot of times when it transfers over, you don't really notice as much. So
yeah.
um
I
but
just we just moved here to this apartment, so it's like a lot emptier than it would be when we get all of our stuff in. And also, I'm not using my regular mic because I can't find the piece to plug in the Yeti, which is a problem.
oh, so you use a Yeti too?
Yeah, it's over
Yeah.
there. You can't find the thing for it.
Yeah,
We've
that,
been moving
that
around.
that's my go-to. Like I mean, like we're not really like, we're not huge. I mean, it's like Christ, it's like, we do this as like a pastime, and we're able to get all the guests that we get mainly because, I know how to sell myself.
Yeah,
20 years worth of pro wrestling, you got to know how to sell yourself,
there you go.
you
I've
know.
been watching a lot of wrestling with Brandon, my
Yeah.
co-host, and that piece that you actually interviewed. Who was it? Was it Jake the Snake?
Yeah, Jake the
Yeah,
Snake Roberts. We had Al Snow just recently. So,
yeah, and I saw that. That's really
yeah.
really cool. That's awesome. If you
And
ever
it
do that again, I wanna be there.
okay, yeah, no problem. I was trying to get a Sabu, but Sabu,
Taboo.
yeah, he's from ECW. He's an old school
Oh,
guy from
cool.
ECW, but he wanted like $100, which I was just kind of like, okay, that's cool. But I mean, most guests we have, we don't pay. So,
Yeah, it's
but also it's the kind of thing that he's one of those kind of guys that could be unreliable.
yeah,
So, he
pretty
kind of changed.
positive.
Yeah, he kind of changed his tune a little bit when I was like, well, I'll pay you half now, and I'll pay you the other half once the interview's done,
Right.
because I don't want to pay him. And then when it comes time to go live, he's nowhere to be found.
Yeah,
And
or
then,
without a mic or without good
yeah,
visuals,
yeah.
crackling up every
So,
3 seconds. That sucks when it
yeah,
happens. Yeah, it's happened to me a
yeah.
few times.
I mean, my thing is, and I learned like I never did a podcast myself until June of last year. I'm used to pro wrestling. We did a TV show which had the same name. It was Happy Hour TV. We did it locally in Baltimore.
Cool.
And, it was mainly video stuff. So I'm used to more video elements. It's just the
Right.
audio part. I learned how to do the audio editing, which Zoom makes it easy because you can literally
Yeah,
just drop all this into an
I love
audio
that.
track. Yeah, cut it up, and that's that. Um, it was just the whole thing of I'm like, if someone was like, hey, just do it as a podcast. So, we kept the same theme, same variety of guests. We're like, hey, we'll talk to anybody and anybody, but it's mainly just me and my buddies. Like, for example, Matt or Mike, they're not here tonight, but
Yeah.
we were 3 hours away in almost in Ocean City, Maryland last night covering
Oh
an
yeah,
event.
I know Ocean City.
Yeah. So we were covering an event almost over there. We got back at like 12:30 at night. So I was like, I'm not going to ask either one of those guys to come today, to do the show with me. But it's just pretty much sitting down and, drinking with, people and having a good time, asking questions you would ask at happy hour. Now, Rocky Kramer, normally I try to stray away from how did you get started, blah, 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 because everybody
Yeah,
asks those fucking
I like
questions.
to ask
Like,
questions that nobody asks.
yeah,
I don't know if
but
you've watched my stuff, but like I'm definitely out there.
yeah, oh yeah, and I mean that's what I appreciate. But people like Rocky Kramer, he doesn't really have a lot going on, so you kind of have to ask, hey, where what were your influences, blah blah blah. But then
Yeah,
once you get through, like we have our other stuff, we have our games. I do like I just started to
cool.
incorporate 5 random facts and
Hmm.
comment on kind of stuff like that,
Hmm.
as well. So I'm always trying to do a little bit of different stuff,
So
as time
were
goes
you in
on.
wrestling yourself?
Oh yeah, I did independent pro wrestling for over 20 years. So
Oh,
yeah.
I thought that's what you meant when you had mentioned it before, but I didn't ask you then because I knew I'd ask you when I talked to you. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So I wrestled Jake the Snake Roberts myself.
You wrestled him? What?
Yeah. So I wrestled Jake. Adam Cole in WWE. His second
Yeah.
match ever once against me in Glen Burnie, Maryland. So I
Oh
know
my
Adam
goodness.
Cole very well. I've teamed with Adam Cole, Drew Gulak, who's in WWE as well. I've worked with him. There's a referee named Derek Edwards in WWE. He was a referee here in Baltimore for a good while.
Oh
James
wow.
Ellsworth, he's another guy that I've been in and out of the ring with. So
That's
you know,
awesome.
there's a female referee named Jessica Heiser. She's in WWE right now. So
I saw her.
yeah,
She's really slamming the ground.
yeah. We know her down here, and it's Jessie K. So, and she was,
Okay.
she was a wrestler as well. So, I mean, it's
She is?
just, yeah.
She has
So
a good build. She seems like it.
yeah, and just the crop of guys, the point in time when I was around, you had a good crop of guys that were coming up, and I had the privilege of working with those guys. And, it was one of those things that when I was younger, probably if I would have made decisions of getting into better shape and not going out and partying, and doing this and doing that, dedicating more time to that aspect, I probably could be there. But it's the kind of thing of I'm satisfied with everything I've done, but also, I got to be in newspapers. I got to be in magazines, worldwide published wrestling magazines. Yeah. I was in the wrestler movie with Mickey Rourke. That my scene got cut though, but I was still there. I still got paid for it. I still, got to do that. So, and it spawned off on a different avenues. I was able to do the TV show. I'm now able to do a podcast, and that's the thing. It got me good with talking to people. I can literally, talk to anybody.
Yeah.
I'm very animated. I'm used to that because when, you'll see me move my hands locked because when you're in the ring talking on a microphone, you're just not going to talk like that. You're going to talk, you're going to point, and you're going to do this. You're used to interacting with a live crowd. So that's what I got used to. So, it's just kind of a second nature type thing.
Yeah, exactly. Once you've been in entertainment, and as long as you've been in the people that you've gotten to meet, of course, it's going to rub off on you. I'm kind of the same way because I used to do a lot of other stuff. Like I'm an actor and a model and everything, but I don't really do any of that anymore. And I also used to work with the International Boxing Union. So I wasn't a ring girl though. Yeah. I handed checks to boxers. So that was important.
Yeah. Did they do the whole money in the envelope thing or whatever? Like when
exactly. The manager signs the paper. I'm standing there. I get to he puts it in an envelope and they literally get it 5 seconds later.
Yeah, the reason for that is because this guy here could be getting paid more than this guy here, and this guy could be in the last match on the card, but this guy's better, so he's being paid more. And you don't want guys to know. Yeah, and pro wrestling had that weird like put cash in the center of your hand and kind of pass it off like that thing, kind of like a drug deal.
Sounds like masonry.
yeah. So, but
I don't think the guys were allowed to open their envelopes until after they left the arena.
Yeah, that makes sense because I mean it just causes for a lot of heat in the back. Now, you run Indie Pods United, so and with that, I accommodate you because there's so many podcast pages. Like I get into it with so many people in the podcast pages because they're so fucking particular. Like
I know
you need to post on certain days. You have a certain amount of description. You can't do YouTube. You can't do street. You can't do it's like just let me post my shit. Like I'm one of those types of guys. I'm in like 80 of those groups. Not to mention I'm posting on Reddit. I'm posting on like people's fan pages and stuff. Anywhere that can get views based off of their guests. It's like I don't have time to sit here and look at each and every one of your group rules because you want to be particular. Right. If it's not related to the podcast, cool, delete it. But if it's related to a podcast, just leave me the fuck alone. And like people don't understand that. There was one I was in, I forgot what it was called.
Well, if it was something like, an event or something, which Indie Pods United is actually an event. So during like the week or the month of when it happens, because I did it for the first time ever last year, then we're like, okay, this week or this month, like, please just focus on posting like what the admins are saying to post because it's a whole live stream event that's going to be on Roku and Apple. It's going to be everywhere and it's getting fully incorporated now. So, because I didn't know it was going to blow up the way it did. So it's not just a group; it's a group of the best indie podcasters, and like I love everybody in there. Like I know probably almost 90% of the people in that group, and I've spoken to them.
Nice.
Each of them personally.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. Like the cool thing is with our show, like you kind of see like our content, like it's very up and down. It's either balls to the wall, like vulgar, or it's like kind of a little bit more laid back. Like it's based off of how our guest is when they get on. But I think what it is a lot of guests are like, our show is different. We play the games. We kind of had that. We kind of have that Howard Stern type edge to the show, which a lot of people don't get that anymore. And
I like that.
Yeah, you got to be different. And I sat there doing this. I told my buddies, I was like Matt and Mike, my co-hosts, they've never done anything like this before. They
Right.
weren't in pro wrestling. They've never done anything. So when we first started it, they were nervous. I was like, don't worry. I can navigate us
Be
through
happy.
anything that we have. I know how to talk. I know how to redirect. If something starts to get like a little like kind of, if we kind of go off the rails a little bit, I know how to bring us back. I know how to,
Exactly.
if it gets quiet. So, and it kind of clicked. And then eventually I just told Matt and Mike, I'm like, just be you. This is what we're doing. We're sitting here, we're drinking beer, whatever. There's no script. Like I'll jot down notes of like stuff that I want to get to. But other than
Yeah.
that, I just try to just call it on the fly and be like,
Right.
hey,
I'm
this,
sure it didn't start out that way. Because
yeah,
I know I
yeah,
didn't. I
yeah,
started out like, we have to do this,
yep,
and this
yep,
day and that day. Everybody,
yeah,
this is our OneNote. Here are all the passwords. This is what
yep,
you need to do. I'm just like dictating. And then I was
yeah,
like, wait a minute, this isn't working because everybody's starting to fight with each other. Because I had a
yeah,
panel before and people were starting to get in arguments. There was a hate talk, like, because I knew all of them from different parts of my life, but they
yeah.
didn't know each other. So it started to, it kind of that went off the rails. And so I'm really happy to be starting my new show, Ascend and Conquer. And actually, I have a good friend of mine who's a fellow podcaster, Mark Halberg, working on the audio for me because
Nice.
I don't have the patience for audacity when people like pause way too long
Yeah.
or they keep saying or their audio is so choppy. It's like their sentence is like
Yeah. And
when that
so
happens.
some of our audio, like we did our live show. I'm not sure if you heard anything from our anniversary show, but we did our anniversary show or 1 year at Jimmy's Famous Seafood in Baltimore.
Oh,
And we
cool.
tried to put it through the speakers, but it was like a last minute type thing. It wasn't working. I was like, fuck it. We just gotta, we're going live on Facebook. We got to do it. Just go live.
Yeah.
So the audio ended up a little weird. I cleaned it up as much as I could with Adobe, but sometimes it just happens. Like when we first started off, some of them were kind of echoey, but eventually you just kind of get it down. The thing I like about the Yeti is it has that range. Like if there's something that's like 20 feet away, like where we were yesterday, there was music like playing in the venue, but it still picked up the interview that we were doing until the bandwidth crashed in the building, and then we just lost everything. Like I couldn't even use my GoPro because I do Facebook Live through Zoom. If we're doing it without, like someone like you coming through, we'll still do it live because you can do it live through that. But the GoPro won't even pull up for Zoom because the bandwidth crashed so bad. So I had to record everything from my phone. So now I need to pull everything off my phone,
Oh
for
gosh. Yeah,
that.
that sounds
So
messy.
yeah.
It's
But
like something that you're gonna put off, but you can't let it expire.
yeah, yeah. And I mean that's the thing. It was a celebrity basketball game and Terrell Owens was there. And let me
Oh,
tell
cool.
you, that dude was the biggest fucking piece of shit I've ever
Really?
met in my yeah, I'm probably gonna shit on him a little bit during the show because the guy who put it on,
Oh,
Bubba the bodyguard, he's a celebrity bodyguard. He had to he paid an extra $2,000 to get him. I forgot what it was, but it was some like really expensive car to pick him up
oh.
in. Terrell Owens got to the airport and Bubba was like, hey, it might be an hour before I can get someone there to pick you up. So, if you're at an airport and there's a torrential downpour, you're either A, going to stay inside, or B, there was a car there that he had. He didn't want that car. Like it took Bubba to get
Yeah.
him, an hour to get the car that he wanted.
Oh my
So
goodness.
instead of waiting in the car that he sent or waiting inside the airport, he waited outside and got rained on. And he was all pissed off because the shit was all
Ooh.
wet.
So he
And
was a
then,
diva.
yeah, and then he didn't want to come to the show. Like the basketball game started at 5.
What?
And, he's like, he wanted to get in the car again. And, everybody was like, well, what the fuck? So eventually 5:02, the game started at 5:02. He shows up
Wow.
with his jersey on, walks out to the basketball game. Looks like he doesn't want to be there the whole time. During like the intermission, a kid asked him for his autograph, but the kid didn't take the cap off the Sharpie. And he's like,
Yeah.
I'm not signing that until you're ready. So he waited for
Wow.
the kid to keep and then signed it. And then
That's
he
too
left
much.
out and now he's talking like all this shit on like Bubba. And like he's just known to be a relative problem. And he was on the
Wow.
challenge not too long ago. MTV's the
Okay.
challenge. It was champs versus stars. He almost got into it with CT and Wes, and he just ended up
Oh
walking
no.
off the show. And they were like, you're a piece of shit. And
Wow.
CT even called him out for, this is why you're broke. You're only doing the show because you're broke. You've made hundreds of
Ooh.
millions of dollars, but you're only worth like 500,000. Like, what the fuck? Like,
Where
you
is his
know,
money going? Or is
I
it
don't
just
know.
because his
Well,
PR is so bad? Because it's not completely his
I
fault if he's acting that way.
yeah, I think he ended up spending a lot of it you know, but it's the kind of thing that he even has 4 kids that he's paying child support on. But we did the math last night. Even if he paying that child support, he would not go broke. I think he's made 800 million over his whole entire NFL career, something like that.
That's like who would you say that's close to? Like 800 million. That sounds like a B-list actor.
Yeah, or 80 million. It was something along like he's made hundreds of millions of dollars. But either way you look at it, it would take him 97 years paying on all 4 child supports to lose that wealth. So what were you spending your money on? You can't say it was that. Yeah, you know, everything and anything. He would have had to spend $11,000 a day in order to do that, become that broke that quick. So
you know what? It wouldn't be hard to spend 11 grand a day if you were, you know, really you're too big for your britches, as they say. Yeah. Like sounds like he's acting, and like think you're big ballin' because you met so and so who's making $2 billion a year, and you're making 80 or 800, whatever it is, and you think and that's where you're gonna stop. No, you're gonna end up lower because you're gonna be spending like they are, because you're hanging out with them, and then you're gonna be upset at yourself when you're really broke.
Exactly. And what I'm going to do real quick, we're going to probably Rocky will probably be coming through soon, and we'll be live in about 10 minutes.
Oh,
what's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Not too well, not too good. Not too bad. Not too bad.
Not too bad. I was wondering what.
No, it was a long night last night. We had to cover an event over in Ocean City, Maryland, and it was probably about a 3-hour drive up. We left at like 7, and then the whole day we were there was a celebrity basketball game. Then we drove back. It was probably about like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning when we got back. So I'm just kind of getting a little bit of the gears rolling, you know, from that. So
sure.
But what we'll do is in probably about like a couple of minutes, I'm going to start getting us ready for Facebook Live. We'll be live on Facebook. Just be yourself, have fun. Our show is normally pretty fun. Everybody always has a great time. If you want to cuss, feel free to cuss. Yeah. And that's Tina. She's going to be guest co-hosting today. She's from the podcast Extend and Conquer. So she's going to be co-hosting with me today. Especially if you have any concerts or anything like that, any shows coming up, definitely plug those out there as well, or you know, along with
absolutely.
When we're done, if you want to send me some of your music, I'll definitely play it every week on the audio version if you want us to. So I always try to do stuff from our musical guests on every episode. So
appreciate it. Yeah. Let me see if I have your email.
Okay.
I may have it. Is it the Chase Rawlings?
Yeah, Chase.
Gmail.
Yep. Okay. Chase Rawlings at Gmail.
Perfect. Then I will send it there.
And then I might steal your guest at one point to interview him on my show.
That's fine. I'll be right back in 1 second. I just need to grab the stuff from the games real quick, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So you're from Norway?
Yes, correct. Yes, I am.
My dad is Norwegian, so I'm.
Is he really? Was he born? Was he born in Norway?
Oslo.
Really? Wow. That is really cool. Yeah, my brother lives in Oslo, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I'm from Trondheim. Yeah. I'll explain it further when we do the interview. But yeah, so definitely been to Oslo many times. Have you been to Norway?
No, not yet. But my daughter is turning 3 in September, and her name's Aurora. So I want her to see the northern lights of Norway and not the fake ones in Alaska.
Oh, that's I love it. Yes, they're beautiful, for sure. It's where I come from. It's they're not as common, unfortunately. I wish they were more common. But
is it because of the pollution?
It's because of the exact the location geographically. If you're above the Arctic Circle, you will see them much more frequently. So if I go north, I can see it more often. But for some reason, I don't go up north very much. But I do want to, and I want to go to Iceland because Iceland it's very beautiful too. So.
No, Iceland is gorgeous. But I was just kind of watching a show, and they were speaking in Icelandic language, and it's such a difficult language. It sounds like a mix of like Danish, German, like Swedish, all at the same time, and like with a tinge of something else. But I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah, I was like, man, we can't do our games without the actual game cards. All right, cool. So let's get set up. It was one of those things I looked around. I'm like, oh shit, I haven't pulled the games yet. All right, cool.
Are we playing games?
Yes,
Yay.
yes. I do
Cool.
5-second rule, incoherent, and Cards Against Humanity. So we do one round of each. Normally I'll do that. We'll go about 30. You have a full hour, Rocky?
Yes, I do
All
have
right,
a full,
cool.
definitely full hour. Yeah, sure.
All right, cool. We'll go like probably about like 30 minutes or so. And then I'll do a quote unquote break. That's for us to put a break for the audio part. We'll just keep rolling on. And then after that, we get right into the games and all that fun stuff. So let me go ahead